Hi there. Welcome to this course, Sustainability of High-Value Crops, Coffee, Wine, and Olives. This is a microcosm of environmental economics, focusing on just a few products, but developing patterns of thought. Now, how should you be using these videos? These videos are denser than ordinary lectures. A classroom lecture has pauses for questions, diversions about other events, discussions current events, just some bad jokes. Classroom lecture might be 5 minutes of material, then a few minutes of pausing, for students to catch up, write notes, etc. Video, but it doesn't need those pauses. But still, you can and should insert those pauses. You can rewatch some parts, or all of it. Definitely take notes on the videos. Partly, that's because your brain helps your brain better engage with the material to remember it. If you just listen, then you might not remember. But if you listen carefully, trying to pick out the highlights, maybe write down those highlights, it sticks better. But you can experiment. Maybe make video notes, record yourself explaining the important parts. You've got to become an active participant in your own education. Now, what am I doing here? I'm an economist. I talk about how economists view the topic of sustainability, high-value crops such as coffee, wine, and olives. Economists have particular assumptions and ways of looking at the world. These aren't necessarily better. In fact, there is no single best way to look at the world. Smart people develop ways of finding different perspectives and learning to look at topics in lots of different ways. Now, there's a folk belief that all economists are wingnut free marketers, but that's false in general. There are some exceptions. But economists generally believe there are many goods for which government intervention can be minimal, although even a minimal set of necessary government policies includes the whole set of laws and procedures to secure property rights. But then there are goods where government intervention might be necessary. Economics studies lots of market failures. As for where government can intervene to fix market failures and where they can leave it alone, well, different people put the boundary at different locations. There are plenty of discussions. What interventions work best. But a large part of the study of economics is to investigate places where markets do not function. All right, so how exactly do, or perhaps ought, economists define sustainability? Well, the principal definition is from the 1987 Brundtland Commission. Sustainable development is development that meets the needs of present generations without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. All right, so that's a lot, but it's a useful starting point. Now, the American Museum of Natural History, right here in New York, the entrance rotunda has the following words carved into the wall. The nation behaves well if it treats the natural resources as assets which it must turn over to the next generation increased and not impaired in value. Conservation means development as much as it does protection. Theodore Roosevelt, the 26th President of the United States, winner of the Nobel Peace Prize, also a terrible racist, was a prominent advocate of conservation, wilderness, and the American Museum of Natural History. Those sentences on the wall could be seen as inconsistent, or at least implying different varieties of what we would now call sustainability. Teddy Roosevelt's original writing reveals more. Conservation means development as much as it does protection. I recognize the right and duty of this generation to develop and use the natural resources of our land, but I do not recognize the right to waste them or to rob by wasteful use the generations that come after us. Defenders of the short-sighted men who in their greed and selfishness will, if permitted, rob our country of half its charm by their reckless extermination of all useful and beautiful wild things, sometimes seek to champion them by saying the game belongs to the people. So it does. Not merely to the people now alive, but the unborn people. The greatest good for the greatest number applies to the number within the womb of time, compared to which those now alive form but an insignificant fraction. Our duty is to the whole, including the unborn generations, bids us restrain an unprincipled present-day minority from wasting the heritage of those unborn generations. The movement for the conservation of wildlife and the larger movement for the conservation of all our natural resources are essentially democratic in spirit, purpose, and method. Now, this concern with subsequent generations is not new, of course. Edmund Burke, Reflections on the French Revolution, written back in 1790. Society is indeed a contract. It is not a partnership in things subservient only to the gross animal existence of a temporary and perishable nature. It is a partnership in all science, a partnership in all art, a partnership in every virtue and in all perfection. As the ends of such partnership cannot be obtained in many generations, it becomes a partnership not only between those who are living, those who are dead, and those who are to be born. That's the same writing earlier. He notes, the age of chivalry is gone, that of sophisters, economists, and calculators has succeeded, and the glory of Europe is extinguished forever. So, yes, economists like knowing that we've taken down the glory of Europe. That's just a good thing there. But the point of all this is to remind that sustainability is not a recent idea. It's not just some fashionable buzzword. In whatever conception, it's also not straightforward to analyze within an economic framework. We need to work out a little more. When we discuss sustainable growth, we talk about the production function, including inputs of natural resources. That includes natural capital, sun and rain, underground oil and gas, biodiversity, even natural beauty, which can immediately make people happier, but also monetize through things like tourism. One of the fundamental problems is that natural resources don't have the correct price. They're often free. For example, a car repair shop faces a choice. They can properly dispose of used engine oil, which does cost some money, or just dump it in the Gowanus Canal in the dark of night for free. The Gowanus is the lovely waterway that we all know today because for centuries it was a dumping ground for lots of chemical wastes. In the same way, we dump pollution in the air and in the water and the ground. Those are externalities. One person's choice creates costs for other people. And for most of us humans, me included, probably you too, other people's problems are exactly that. Other people's. Not ours. They don't weigh as heavily as problems that impact me. The focus on natural resources often having the wrong price is sometimes surprising to people who know just a little bit about economics. What I call the Dunning-Kruger types. Dunning-Kruger is the effect that people who know the least about a particular topic are usually the most confident in their opinions on that topic. Experts have seen enough to be able to doubt. Some people think that putting a correct price on externalities is interfering in free markets, but it's actually trying to get markets to work better. Markets would generally be more efficient if pollution had a cost, and that's why many economists support taxes on emissions. Policy can help get prices right. How can countries grow in a sustainable way? Well, sustainability is important to people in wealthy countries, but many poor people have different opinions about the trade-off between getting money now or leaving enough for the future. Climate change has become a problem because so many people in the world have become wealthy. It's a huge problem with huge costs, but it was created by economic growth that delivered huge benefits to billions of people. China and India used to have substantial fractions of the population in dire poverty, less than $2 a day. Now China has almost eradicated that level of poverty, and India has drastically reduced it. That means fewer children dying, more people living longer, accessing clean water and sanitation. Many poor people want economic growth, and they see the trajectories of other countries that have become wealthy, often by depleting natural capital, such as digging out the coal. So we got to figure out how to make all of these things balance.